Hey everyone, so today I thought I would do more of a serious video, as you can tell by the title, because I feel like it's important to talk about and it's becoming more of a topic that people are talking about, um, I guess recently because of the Netflix show 13 Reasons Why that just came out. Um, I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything, but it is about a teenage girl who commits suicide, and the show goes through reasons why and how she was feeling and goes into detail about those stories, I guess. I started it several days ago and I finished it in like a couple days. There's 13 episodes, 13 Reasons Why. And I feel like it's getting a lot of criticism for being too graphic, and I just want to say, obviously, if it's going to trigger you, don't watch it. If you think that you might be triggered by it, it does give warnings at the beginning of the more graphic episodes, but it is very graphic and very hard to watch at times. I had to look away during the most graphic scene in the series. I think it's in episode 13. I feel like it's important that the show was graphic and serious and hard to watch because it should be uncomfortable. I mean, suicide should not be something that we get comfortable with, that we think is an option. Obviously, we need to talk about it, but that doesn't mean that it needs to be an easy thing to talk about, because it's not easy. It's not easy going through depression. It's not easy having those thoughts. It's not easy being bullied or going through things that may make somebody want to end their life. I have had depression since I was probably 13, and I was diagnosed by a doctor. It wasn't just something that I have, latched onto like a trend that a lot of people romanticize, I guess. And that's another thing. With it being so uncomfortable to watch, I feel like it takes away the romanticism that a lot of people give to depression and suicidal thoughts and saying, like, I want to die and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people think that it's something that they can joke about. And, I've had depression for several years now, and I was always blessed to have a mom who always made me feel comfortable talking to her about it, checking on me, making sure that I was really okay. She never made me feel suffocated. Some parents, when you tell them you have those feelings, the obvious reaction is to want to make sure that they're okay at all times by hovering and asking 500 questions and not believing them when they say that they're okay. And while some of that is obviously important because you do want to make sure that the person is okay, I feel like it scares people away from talking about it because they don't want to feel smothered. They don't want to feel like a burden or that they are a problem or that they're crazy. That's another big thing. It can make you feel so alienated and like a hazard. Like, people are asking you, how are you feeling? Have you had these thoughts? How often do you have these thoughts? Have you ever thought about it in depth? Like 5,000 different questions. And there is a way that you can ask those questions without coming on too strong and scaring them away, but I was always blessed with a mom that we had this open conversation where if I was feeling those thoughts, I would immediately tell her, and she never made me feel crazy or that I was being dramatic or that I was a burden or that I couldn't tell her anything, which is so, so important. I feel like I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have that. And so many people don't have that with their parents, but I feel like it's important to say that you can find that somewhere else. You can find friends, you can get professional help, whether it's therapy or calling a hotline, even just being anonymous, or other family members that you may trust more. So many different ways that you can get help if you need it. And another thing is that a lot of people feel ashamed to admit that they need help, like, my life isn't that bad, I shouldn't be feeling this way, or other people have had it worse, why can I not get through it, why are they fine and I'm not? And, it's really a personal thing. You can't expect everybody to react the same way to different situations, or to the same situations. Everybody has different situations, even, that every tiny factor plays into how it makes you feel. And everybody's brain is different. That's a huge, huge part of it, is that certain things that may not bother some people can really bother other people. And a lot of people don't realize that it's okay if something affects you to the point where you need to talk to somebody about it, you need to ask for help. That doesn't make you weak or dramatic or all those things that you feel. It's kind of a tricky thing to say this, but when you're depressed, you're sick. I'm not saying that in a negative way. If your body is sick, you go to a doctor. If your mind is sick, a lot of people think they don't need to see a doctor, that they can just get over it or wait and it'll pass, and for some cases that is true. A lot of people get through things on their own, but a lot of people also don't, and I feel like it needs to be normalized to seek professional help and not let those people feel ashamed for seeking it, because it is sometimes chemical. Some people need medication or therapy to feel okay. And it's just like somebody who has some kind of like physical health issue. Some people need medication for that, and people aren't shamed for taking medication for their body. If you have a heart issue and you take heart medication, people understand, like, oh yeah, you need that. But a lot of people are shamed for taking like antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, stuff like that, because they're like, why don't you just get over it? Why don't you just talk about it? And it's not always that simple for some people. Some people need that medication. And a lot of people tend to lie through their teeth when people ask them how they're doing, and I'm guilty of that. I don't ever want to get into it with, and that's okay with the average person. Like, if you're just walking around and you see an acquaintance or something and you don't feel comfortable talking to that person about it, as long as you have somebody that you're comfortable with and you do talk about it with them, that's the most important thing. You don't have to get into it with everybody that asks you if you're okay, because not everybody knows you well enough to know how to comfort you, how to help you. People's response plays a huge factor in how it affects you when you talk about it. Like, if you go to someone and you say, I've been having these thoughts, I don't really have any plans, but I just wanted to tell you, and they're like, whoa, you need to go to the hospital right now, I'm admitting you, and you need to take all these medications and be watched 24/7, they're not going to go to that person again. That plays into what I was talking to earlier, that a lot of people I don't want to say overreact, because if someone is that serious, you can't really take chances, but there is a proper way to react and to channel those concerns to that person that will actually help them. I am proud of the show for addressing those serious topics, because a lot of people in entertainment shy away from that, and then you're left with these people who have gone through these things and they can feel really alone, but if you are watching something and you can connect with that story and you have a personal connection with what's happening, sometimes it can be triggering, other times it can be really comforting to see other people feel this way, or they wouldn't have written the story like that. Like, I'm not alone in this. For me, the show was comforting to see such intense emotions, and it's like people are actually talking about it instead of it being this thing like, I feel like I'm crazy, I feel like I'm being dramatic, and that's another thing. People are making jokes about the main character just being dramatic and that there were stupid reasons or whatever. When you're in that state of mind, little tiny things can make such a huge impact on how you're feeling, and the tiniest thing could throw you over the edge, so to speak. And it doesn't make you dramatic, it's just, it feels so overwhelming in that situation. A lot of people who have not felt that, they don't realize how overwhelming that is, how heavy that feels. And every single thing plays into that, whether it be positive or negative. And just being nice to people, a lot of people don't realize the impact that can have, the positive impact. People could be thinking about hurting themselves or even on their way to hurt themselves, and somebody stops and says something nice to them and it throws them off because they're like, this person was nice to me. And a lot of people don't realize the importance of just being nice to people. It's so easy and takes such little time to say something nice to someone, and you don't know how that may help them. You don't know how much that may mean to them. I always say, if you're thinking something positive about somebody, just tell them. It doesn't matter if you may think it is weird, that person will probably appreciate it so much. I feel like I've been talking forever, and I just keep going on little bunny trails, but I think that's all I have to say. If I think of anything else, I'll put it in the description. But also I wanted to mention, I was inspired to make this video by a YouTuber named Kat, and I'll put her video and her channel in the description. And I'm really glad that she made that video. She has a much bigger following than I do, and I feel like it's so important that she talked about it and started that conversation with her audience. I know it may seem stupid for me to sit here and talk about all this when not a lot of people will see it, but if even one person sees it and feels comforted by it, feels like they can relate and that they're glad someone's talking about it, then it was worth making. I always say that if one person can be helped, then it was worth it. And I don't say that to sound like superior, like, oh, I'm helping people. I just truly want you to know that you're not alone. And I still have these feelings sometimes because depression is an ongoing thing. It's a chronic illness. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's a journey, not to sound cliche, but I still have times where I feel alone and I feel like I would be better off dead and like other people would be better off if I was dead, but that's not true. And it's important for me even to make videos like this to remind my future self when I'm going through those things to look back and be able to say, look, it wasn't always this way and it won't always be this way. Remind yourself of the good times. Like, if you're feeling super happy, post about it. Post on social media. And then when you're feeling really bad, you can go back and look at all those things and try to pull yourself out of that feeling of permanence, because that's why people make that permanent decision to end their lives, because they feel like this won't ever go away, this won't ever get better, but it will. And before I say anything else super cliche or start rambling again, I'm gonna end this video because it's already super long. And if you've watched this far, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.